How can we go about paying fewer taxes on our restricted stock units or RSUs? Derek Mazzarella with Gateway Financial Partners. I'm going to walk you through an 83B election, which could potentially save you some money on your RSUs. If you haven't seen my RSU basics video, I'd recommend watching that to get an idea of the schedule and timeline of RSUs and how they're taxed. With that said, there are two dates that we need to worry about when it comes to 83B elections. The first one is the grant date. That is when the company says, we're going to start gifting you some shares of our company stock once they vest. And the vest is essentially when that stock becomes officially yours. The good news about that is now you have the company stock, you own it. The bad news is now you pay some taxes on it. The alternative is if you take an 83B election, you can actually pay taxes not on the vest date, but actually on the grant date. And that may be beneficial for two reasons. One, typically stocks will grow over time, and your vest date is typically a few years out. So you have time for your stock to grow. So for example, let's say your stock is worth $100 on the grant date. That means you pay taxes with an 83B election on $100. And let's say they grew to $200 by your vesting date. Now you pay taxes on $100 versus $200. You essentially paid half as much in taxes. Now, one thing to watch out for is you have to file a tax form within 30 days of you exercising your 83B election or 30 days within the grant date. So that's one thing to keep in mind. So 30 days, up until 30 days you have to do the election. So two other things to really worry about are one, you want to make sure you're staying at the company for a long enough time frame. So for example, let's say you pay taxes on $100, but you leave 6 months later and you don't actually get any of the shares vested. Now you've paid taxes on money that you never actually received. So that's a negative. The other thing to look out for is instead of a high growth stock, let's say your stock goes down in value, and instead of $100, your stock is now worth $50 on the vest date. You paid twice as much in taxes as you did if you normally would have with the vesting schedule. So that's in a nutshell how 83B elections work. They may or may not be right for you, but there's definitely a few things to consider when choosing to or not to exercise money at the grant date versus the vesting date. Derek Mazzarella, Gateway Financial Partners.